In the first screencast that I did for nouns, we reviewed all the terminology in ways that nouns could be classified. You could say that a noun is common or proper. It is either concrete or abstract. It could be compound. It could be collective. And today we're going to talk about whether it is singular or possessive. The issue that comes up when we're talking about singular and possessive is how to appropriately punctuate them. And I've seen a lot of problems this year with putting apostrophes just when we're talking about a plural. There are only two times that it's okay to use an apostrophe. One is for a contraction, like did, not, into didn't. And we seem to be leaving those apostrophes off a lot, so it's really important that we put that apostrophe in the contraction to show that a letter is missing. The other time we use an apostrophe is for a possessive, and so we have a couple of rules that we use when we're talking about possessives. Possessive nouns show ownership. We're talking about a noun owning another noun. And once we put that apostrophe in our first noun, it's no longer a noun. It's actually doing the job of an adjective. And anytime we look at a noun that is singular, a good rule to remember, it's always add apostrophe s. The only time this gets a little bit questionable is when we're talking about names of people like Chris. But if we follow the rule that if it is a singular noun, you are talking about one person, one place, one thing, you add an apostrophe s. So, for example, I have one cat, and I want to show that my cat has a bed. My cat, apostrophe s, my cat's bed. One cat owning one bed, and the rule is add an apostrophe s to the noun. Now, if I was looking at this sentence anymore, in the context of this sentence, cats is now being used as an adjective because it's showing ownership of the bed. Now, let's say I had two cats. Two cats just indicates more than one. There's no ownership. It's not a contraction, so we don't need an apostrophe. I'm just talking about two different cats. Now, I want to talk about my two cats and their beds. And so now we get to where our trick comes in. We've got two different rules that we work with plurals. So one part of that says if it already ends in an s, you add an apostrophe. If there is no s, then you add apostrophe s. So we think of what's the plural form, cats. Cats already ends in an s, so I add just an apostrophe. Whoops. And so I might be talking about my two cats and their beds. And so that's how it would look. And again, cats no longer is a noun. We're actually using it as a possessive. It's showing ownership. It's doing the job of an adjective. Alright, next noun, class. We could classify this as concrete. We can see a class. It is a common noun. It is not capitalized. And it's also a collective noun, which we said names more than one in its singular form. If I'm talking about one class, and you're already getting a picture in your head of more than one person sitting there. So if I was talking about one class owning some books, the class is books. My rule says if it's singular, you add an apostrophe s. And so that's what it would look like. One class's books. And I know that looks kind of weird, but that's just the way it is. If it's singular, you add an apostrophe s. So now let's think of two classes. I teach two classes. I can't just add an s, or I'd have a word that ends with three s's. When we have words that change in syllable, cat in its singular form, cats in its plural form is still one syllable. Class is singular, one syllable. Classes becomes a second syllable. We have to add a vowel at the end of that, so it becomes classes. This works with like taxes, a lot of words that end in s or x, and there are some other letters that you could memorize, but I always think a good rule of thumb is if it changes in syllables, then you're going to need to add the es. So now I want to talk about my two classes books, so I've got to go up to my rule. It says, I look at my plural form. If it already ends in s, I add an apostrophe. And it does. So if I want to talk about my two classes, apostrophe, and their books, that's how it would look. Two classes, books. Okay, I want you to try the rest of these for on your paper. You've got 3 more boxes there to try, and then we will go over them together. Okay, so sky. If I wanted to show that the sky owns the clouds, I look at my rule, one sky. The rule is add apostrophe s, the skies, clouds. Now, if I wanted to talk about more than one sky, all the skies, 2 skies, we had a rule about changing your Y to an I and add ES back in elementary school, so we're going to remember that here. If it ends in a Y, we change the Y to an I and add ES. And the 2 skies, make it plural. If it ends in an S, you add an apostrophe. So it would be 2 clouds, or 2 skies, clouds. And I know that sentence probably doesn't make a lot of sense, but we're looking more at the rule. Okay, one man, and I wanted to show that the one man owns a jacket or a coat. One man's coat. The rule for singular possessive, always add apostrophe s. Here we have an irregular noun though. When I'm talking about the plural of man, the plural would be men, 2 men. And so if I want to make it plural, plural possessive, I would look at my rule. If it ends in an S, add apostrophe. Well, men does not add in an S, so I go to that second rule. 2 men, apostrophe S, coats. 2 men's coats. And then the last one, knife. One knife. And I want to talk about one knife's blade. The rule is add an apostrophe s, no matter what, if it's singular. The plural form of knife has a little irregular spelling change. We don't say knifes, we'd say knives. And so your F changes to a V, kind of like wife and wives. So now if I want to show the 2 knives, I look at my plural form, it already ends in an S, so I have to add just an apostrophe. 2 knives, blades. And so this is the rule for how to use possessives. Oops, and I see my typo over here. Okay.